Perhaps the most important area in which a spirit can operate is the brain. He can input thoughts, but also imaginations of all kinds that a normal person takes for his own. He can put pressure on the attention in a targeted manner to direct it to something specific. For example, a part of his body, a person, sound, an object, words, and more. Of course, this also applies to the gaze, which is particularly easy to control because we don't do it consciously. An interesting detail is a ghost uses the field of vision completely and therefore also sees things at the edge we don't notice. He can also trigger hallucinations of all kinds and create paranormal phenomena, such as spooks. He can stimulate or suppress areas of the brain so that certain things are particularly easy, difficult, or even impossible to do. He can impose a certain vocabulary on a person, which tends to make him prefer and use certain words often, while obscuring other ones. Some words just slip out of his mouth. For example, swear words. Positive words, however, do not want to come to his mind. He can cause misunderstandings or remembering something specific. He can throw people off balance and make them forget certain things, even things that are deeply ingrained in a memory, like a 4-digit PIN that one has used for decades. He actually has the ability to put a person in a completely stupid state. He can manipulate perception to make things or people look attractive or repulsive. This also explains the phenomenon of drinking someone beautiful. He can project all sorts of things. For example, that a person is warm-hearted, evil, sincere, or deceitful. He can make a voice sound particularly pleasant or unpleasant. This also applies to self-awareness. He can distort perception into hearing a different word than what was actually said. So he can create lots of problems, cause quarrels and confusion. He can make certain things taste good and others disgusting. He can trigger the release of all kinds of hormones at any time. If it's adrenaline, it might become an anxiety panic attack. Dopamine, serotonin, endorphin, or oxytocin make people strong, happy, focused, motivated, and much more. A mind can use hormones to control many things, such as sleep-wake cycles, hunger or appetite, the need for intimacy, and more. He can switch off various filters in perception that protect us from sensory overload, so that one suddenly hears all sorts of noises in the environment or on and in one's own body. He can also pressure us to listen to certain words and content, or to look at certain things. On the other hand, he can block our perception in such a way that we overhear certain things that are happening right in front of us. He can also try to project his own feelings onto us. If we are unconscious, he can control us unnoticed, while we believe that we ourselves are the doers. All of us experience this constantly in our dreams, which are very often, if not mostly or always, externally controlled. The thoughts given in by a spirit are first-person perspective. He puts himself inside us and then thinks what he wants us to think. The ghost knows his victim and how to trigger. Of course, he takes advantage. He can connect and disconnect as he pleases, for example, not to feel our pain. The most valuable thing for a spirit is the possibility of tiring a person. This way he can weaken him, make him unconscious, so it gets easier for him to suppress, control, manipulate, and abuse. A person can be put into a dissociative state and the spirit can suppress its consciousness. This is how suicide, self-harm, or or serious acts of violence come about, in which the person is mentally partially or completely absent, and accordingly can hardly remember anything or even nothing at all. Sleepwalking also takes place in such a state. Many people who are constantly tired and exhausted think they suffer from a lack of energy, while they are actually being oppressed by a ghost. If he manages to tempt people to consume alcohol or drugs, the chance of success and thus the extent of his control will increase drastically.